Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to provide a quick update on how my Monzo investments are performing. At the start of November, I begun my Monzo investing journey, investing £100 a month in their adventurous fund, and I plan on providing regular portfolio updates on this YouTube channel. But before we take a look at the performance, I want to address a question that a few of you have asked in the comment sections of previous portfolio updates around why should I bother investing and taking risk when I can get a good interest return with practically no risk through a savings account? On paper, this is a valid question, given that interest rates are relatively high at the moment, and over the short term, sure, saving and investing returns are comparable. In fact, over the short term, saving is the better option, as investing can be volatile over the short term, leading to losses. However, over the long term, history tells us that global stock market investing will nearly always beat the returns, and the difference between the returns you can make through investing compared to saving only increases as time goes by. This graph here shows the average returns of a global stock market index fund, similar to that of the adventurous fund offered from Monzo, and compares it to the average savings account returns over different time periods. And we can see the gap between investing and saving is small over the short term. Over a year period, investing is only better by 5% in returns. But over the long term, the gap is huge. If you hold money in the investment account compared to the savings account over a 10-year period, the difference in returns is 100%. And over a 30-year period, it's over 1,000%. So this shows that although it can be tempting to compare investing and saving returns over the short term, it's not wise to do so, and instead it's important to take a long-term view with investing, as investing will nearly always beat saving over the long term. And the longer you can keep your money in your investment, the better chance it will have to beat savings returns. And this principle definitely applies with Monzo Investments. For example, at the moment, my Monzo investment portfolio will be very comparable in returns to savings account interest. However, I've only been investing in my investment account for 3 months, so a short-term time period. And over the long term, 5 years plus, I would expect the returns not to be comparable and the investing return to significantly outstrip what I could have got if I put the money in a savings account. So long-term outlooks are extremely important when investing. And now we know this, we can move on to the next section of the video. But before we do that, for any new viewers out there, I'm Alex, a management consultant by day, and on this channel we like to discuss all things personal finance with particular focus on how to grow your money. If you enjoyed the content, I'd really appreciate a like, and if you'd like to follow my own personal finance journey with regular portfolio updates like this one on my Monzo portfolio, as well as regular portfolio updates on my Invest Engine portfolio, and a bunch of other personal finance related videos, then I'd greatly appreciate subscribe. But for this video, let's continue and let's take a look at how the general markets have performed over the past month, as this will provide a reference point for my own portfolio's performance, and it will also help explain why my fund has either gone up or down over the past month. And if you've watched the last few portfolio updates, you'll know that I like to take a look at the American stock market first, and the reason why I always show America before the UK is because the majority of stock market investments in each of the Monzo funds is made up of US stocks, meaning the performance of the American stock market has a much bigger impact on the performance of each individual Monzo fund compared to what's happening in the UK. And we can see that over the past month, the American stock market index of the S&P 500 is up by 2.25%. So it's been a good month for the American stock market. If we bring it closer to home for the folk like me in the UK and take a look at the FTSE 100, we can see it's not been as good month for the UK, with the FTSE down by 1.13%. So very different performances in the UK and the US, and this is not entirely surprising as markets in both countries continue to be heavily impacted by expectations on when interest rates will go down and the perceived resilience of the economies. And the market tends to have slightly better expectations for the US economy. In the UK, there's slightly more uncertainty around the strength of the economy and when interest rates will come down, whereas in the US, data is more positive, with news coming out this month that the US economy had better than expected growth in the final quarter of 2023 at 3.3%. Most economists expected the US economy to stagnate and only expand by around 2% in this period, so this was much better than expected economic growth. Another key metric is inflation, and recent data for this was also better than expected. US inflation decreased to 1.7% in the final quarter compared to 2.6% in the previous 3 months. These data metrics are very important as they show that inflation is cooling and the economy is not going into recession, and this combination is what you might have heard called a soft landing. And why this is relevant to us as investors is because it's positive for the stock market. On one hand, the economy is still growing, which suggests that companies continue to grow, their earnings continue to grow, and on the other hand, inflation is cooling, which enables the central bank, the Federal Reserve, to think about reducing interest rates, which should provide even more fuel to economic growth and company growth, as borrowing will then become an option again for companies for the purpose of expansion. So overall, it's been a good start to the year for the US economy and the US stock market, and for these reasons I'm expecting to see good performance in my Monzo investment account. So let's now bring up the Monzo app and take a look to see how my Monzo Ventures Fund has been performing. And we can see that I'm in the green. My Monzo investment account is up by 4.14% in percentage terms and £16.56 in pound terms, which isn't bad performance considering I've only been invested in this account for just over 3 months. And my total balance now stands at £416.56. And we can use this graph here to see how the portfolio has evolved, how the performance has evolved. And if we zoom into the last month using this toggle, we can see at the start of the month my usual £100 top up came in. I'm investing £100 a month in this portfolio. And then after this point, the portfolio slowly crept up in value. So we can see that on the 7th of January, the portfolio had a balance of just over £406, and then it steadily crept up to where it is today at just over £416. So it's been stable and steady growth in the month of January for this Monzo fund. And I'll be happy if this performance continues for the rest of the year, as this has been very good performance in January. And there's no real surprise that this portfolio has done well, this fund has done well in January, as the Adventurous Fund is 100% invested in shares and mainly US shares. If we take a look to see what the fund is invested in by clicking View Details, we can see that this fund is mainly invested in North American equities. Over 55% of this fund is made up of North American equities. So given that the US stock market has done well, there's no surprise that this fund has done well, as it's mainly made up of US stocks, US companies. So overall, it's been a good month for this fund, and I hope it continues for the rest of the year. If you'd like to check out another one of my videos going through how Monzo investment works and a full 101 guide, you'll be able to find it around here. But for this video, thanks for watching. Let me know how your Monzo funds have been performing over the past month.